Hi, everybody, and welcome again to another episode of Tall Tales with TallGamer. Today on the show, we have Ryan Randall. And I did say your name right?
Actually, it's the other way around.
Randall Ryan. That's why, you know what?
It happens a lot.
Golly, I'm going to leave that in there. That's how we're going to do that. I'm going to leave that in there. So, Randall, you have been, so for those of you who don't know, Randall has been in the industry since 95, the audio industry since 95, and you have obviously switched over into the games industry. You've seen some of your games on display here at Apollo Games in Round Rock, Texas. So I'm going to start it right off with, how did you go from, doing audio work for movies, TVs, and things like that to getting into games? Like, what was that? Not only how did you do that, but what was that catalyst?
Well, it was an interesting little switch. We were actually, by the time right before we were getting into doing games, we had actually really built a client list of interactive companies. It was right when the .com boom was really occurring. And we had a company the company was actually called Internet Sound before it was Hamsterball. And my brother was a really big gamer, and I dabbled in games, but he was really, really into it. And he kept beating on me I believe the quote was something along the lines of, "Bro, the music in games sucks. You can do so much better." Whether that's true or not, But so I finally decided, well, sure, it would be fun to go after games. And so I was living in Indianapolis at the time, and I just looked to see if there were any gaming companies in Indianapolis, and just figured I'd cold call them, and there was one called Sunstorm Interactive. A lot of people probably don't know who that is or where it was, but they were doing this game, and it seemed like an odd thing. They were going to do this hunting game, and I thought, I don't know who would play hunting games, but sure, I'm just looking for a gaming credit. And what we did was so small. It was just like one voiceover, like the main announcer in this game, and it turns out the game was Deer Hunter. And
wow, yeah.
And of course, it just kind of took off, which there was my answer. Who would buy it? Oh, I don't know. Everybody.
Yeah.
And so from there, it was just really blind luck, but also knocking on everyone's door that I could to say, hey, by the way, we did the announcer for Deer Hunter. And so it just gave us an actual really solid credit, which gave us some legitimacy going in. And that's really the story. It's just a bit of blind luck.
And so now, is your client mix right now, how does it stand? Is it mostly games?
It is. It's probably 70% game.
Okay.
Most of the rest of that is still interactive, and we occasionally will do a broadcast project, but that's really kind of fallen off of our radar for the most part. So it's mostly just games and interactive. It's all software.
All from a cold call. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So now, when you're doing these games and you're doing a Deer Hunter game, or you're doing, like you did Lord of the Rings Online, and you're jumping from these different genres, that has to be a challenge in and of itself. Like, I'm going to go from whatever the genre is of music for hunting deer to that fantasy genre on Lord of the Rings. Like, how does your brain...
That's a very good question, and I don't know if I know the answer, but I'll try. Part of it stems from probably just from that I've always loved music, and also a lot of what we do is also not just music. We do a lot of voiceover work, but even that's a switch. Doing VO for this particular genre versus another one. With music, I think it's just I grew up really liking and listening to a lot of music. I always keep trying to challenge myself to listen to things that maybe are unfamiliar. There was a while not too long ago, for instance, that I went through this. It was like an acid jazz phase. I would just pull it up and just let it play. And I'm not writing acid jazz, but it definitely made me think in a different way. And so I think when you translate from one genre to another, it's usually good to reacquaint yourself with whatever that genre is. If you're going to be doing a bunch of highly percussive type of things, then you should probably listen to a lot of that. Not because you want to imitate everything that's there, but it just kind of puts you back in that mindset. But beyond that, I think I'm like a lot of other composers. Most of us really do have a pretty wide breadth of what we can write. It's very easy for people to get pigeonholed, and it happens all the time. I mean, you see, plenty of people who they may want to write a much wider range of what it is that they do than they do, but they are that's the orchestral person, or this is the one that does fantasy stuff, or this one does sports rock, and sometimes it's very tough to get out of that. We actually hit a point where we were doing a ton of kids games, and we actually lost some bids because it's like, oh, well, you're doing Dora the Explorer. It's like, and
right on. So now it was funny when you were saying acid jazz. I was trying to go back in my own memory and pull up some artists that I know. You ever listen to Kruger and Dorfmeister?
So much of it, I didn't even look at who the artist. So the answer is probably, but there was so much of that. There was a station that was on. I can't remember what I was using at the time. It wasn't Pandora, but it was some music streaming service.
Was it from Winamp? Because that'll show your age.
Yeah, well, I do remember Winamp. I had Winamp.
Was it Shoutcast?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. But anyway, that was one of the genre stations, and I would just turn it on and just leave it, and I would never look at who was on. I mean, I can't say never. I would almost never look at who was on there. It would just be like, that's really interesting.
You're just about the music.
Yeah, it was.
Right on.
Because I didn't, and I didn't necessarily want to buy a bunch of it. I just wanted it to wash over me. And I've done that with, with hardcore jazz. I've done that with metal. I've done that with hip hop. I do that with. I still try, and it's hard. Now this is showing my age. I will still, as I'm a Sirius XM subscriber, I have on my quick list, the top. I'll call it the top 40 station, but they're really probably more like a top 20 station. And I will listen to that as long as I can stomach it, which is usually not very long.
Yeah, that's tough.
It is tough, but I still feel that's something I have to do because it's what is going on now, and not only just from a songwriting perspective, but from a production perspective. What are people doing? What are they using in production? Because when you are doing something and your target audience is going to be that 20-something gamer, it's not that you have to have some idea of what it is that they're listening to, and so I force myself regularly to. In fact, I was listening to it on the way up here, and
so it's like any other serious artist, you got to do your research. And,
I think you do.
Yeah, right on.
Absolutely.
So now you got the sound thing going on with Hamsterball Studios, and you're also teaming up with my friend Jennifer over at Captivate Conference.
Correct.
So now, what's your hand in there?
Well, my hand's actually kind of light. Jennifer is certainly the brains and the drive behind everything. I guess I'm a little bit more than just a volunteer, but I wouldn't say that I'm like like a main organizer. What I'm trying to do is really help bring more of the music into it, more musicians, more people who are in the music business, as opposed to music gaming, for instance. Because part of why I got involved in Captivate and part of why I believe in it to begin with is it's this melding of not necessarily disparate industries, but people who don't always talk to each other. So you have the film people, you've got the gaming people, you have the interactive app people, and you've got the music people. All of these folks, especially in a city like Austin, should be collaborating, should be talking to one another, should be innovating. And for a lot of reasons, like any other, people get in their little silos, and so gamers hang with gamers, and film people hang with film people, and the musicians hang with the musicians, and so on and so forth. I believe that if you get these people into a room, and I don't want to say force network, but get
just
them
throw beer in the middle.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
just
have a race for it.
Tequila, it doesn't matter, and get these people talking to one another, the cross-pollination of ideas. I mean, look at what things have come out of Austin in general because people cross-pollinate their ideas.
Yeah.
That whole Austin thing of you walk into a bar and there's somebody with dust on their boots and somebody who's working in state government and a student and a musician with 4 different colors of hair and a gamer, and they're all there talking to one another and getting along. That is kind of the essence of Austin, and that's what Jennifer's really pushing with Captivate, and I'm just trying to bring some musicians into the fold.
So now, versus last year, or compared to last year,
Mm-hmm.
what can we expect going into Captivate this year?
I think it is. I think one of the things that everybody learned from last year was to really focus it more on the collaborative idea, and so the talks are much less about, okay, this is just for musicians, this is just for gamers, this is just for film people, but more, okay, so you're in this creative field. Here's what you do to further your career. And again, I think that's going to really help get people talking to one another in a much, I want to see two film guys and an interactive app person and a female singer-songwriter all engaged in here's this thing we're going to do.
Yeah.
And that will happen if you just get them talking to one another. It just does.
All right. So cool, man. I definitely appreciate your time. Do you want to plug any of the places like Hamsterball and Captivate?
Sure. Our website is hamsterballstudios.com. No P, Hamster, Hamsterball Studios. Captivate, you can find at captivatecon.com, so Captivate Conference shortened. And the other thing about Captivate is that the ticket prices are very inexpensive.
Yep.
You go to GDC or E3 and you buy the full access pass, and you're $1,000 or And Captivate's not. I think a full access pass is like $295, and and they go down from there. So if you just want to go see some talks and be on the expo floor, I think it's I don't remember what all the prices are, but it's around $100.
Speaking of those the Floor Expo passes, I just so happen to have a few.
Oh, awesome.
So leave a comment on the video and definitely hit the subscribe button, and we'll pick some random viewers and give them out.
Awesome.
Right on. All right, man. Well, thanks, Randall. I definitely appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Donald. Always a pleasure.
All right, guys. Thanks again for watching, and as always, hit the subscribe button and spread the love.